What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, Tuesday night, ESPN mock draft hangout. We're going to be drafting from the 110 in a 12-team full PPR mock draft. I'm going to hop right into a screen share because the draft just started. It looks like we got a few people hanging out here with us. It looks like Harris missed it, but I did see Aiden join at the 101. And yeah, these mock drafts are filling up insanely quick now that people are doing their preps. I think there's people drafting this weekend, and basically we're in redraft, like official redraft season. So we got a lot to be excited about. But we're underway here. The first handful of picks: Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Jamar Chase, the top five, and then JJ, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, and Saquon Barkley. We're going to be trying to do, the top five player at each position rule. We had been targeting Jahmyr Gibbs pretty hard as one of our running backs here. He's got a hamstring injury. I might be willing to buy him at pick 15. We'll see if he comes back. So tough decision between Amon-Ra and A.J. Brown. I think we're going to go with A.J. Brown here, just in case we do get the opportunity to take Jahmyr Gibbs there on the comeback. So we'll grab A.J. Brown, who I'm totally fine with. I think he's a top 5 receiver upside play. He was like the number 2 wide receiver overall for most of the year last year. And I think the Eagles offense rebounds a little bit this season. So overall, not too bad there, A.J. Brown at the 110. And so I post the links 15 minutes before the show goes because that's when they come live. So I apologize if we miss some tonight. I mean, as soon as the links come up, man, there are already like 3-4 people filled in them. It's kind of crazy how fast these things are filling now, but we'll hopefully get it locked in for next week. But otherwise, if you're not in the draft, sit tight and enjoy. You guys can kind of mock draft in your minds. But Amon-Ra, Etienne, Derrick Henry, and Puka Nacua. So I get it. Jahmyr Gibbs has a knee injury right now, or a hamstring injury right now, and that's going to drop him into the second round. I still think I'm interested in here. From what I've heard, he's on track to play week 1. If we hear further news that this is not the case, I'd be willing to back off on Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'm going to draft him here to be my top 5 option at running back. And, I don't know. We don't really know too much. He left practice early due to a hamstring injury. Hamstrings can be tricky to gauge, so it remains to be seen how serious the issue is for Gibbs. We're still 2.5 weeks away from week 1, so I'm hoping that he can rest up and be fine for week 1. And, if he's battling a hamstring thing throughout the rest of the season, we'll see. But I think getting Gibbs right now on a dip is a nice option if you're drafting this weekend, and I know a few people are. I could have went wide receiver and grabbed Garrett Wilson, who I think is a really fun option there as my wide receiver 2. Running backs there that I don't mind, Kieran Williams and Isaiah Pacheco. And I do want to say, if you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, definitely subscribe, like the video, all that new stuff. But I put out another article here, the redraft guide. That one, I have a video on YouTube that's live. And you can get access to my article here. I think it's $7 for the month of August. But I put out another one, a part 2 to my series here. Let me see if I can find it. It's in the members only content. And I basically just break down mid-round targets. I also posted a video, I think it was last night. So if you guys want to check that video out, I covered basically rounds 5 through 10 and show you guys what I'm liking in the middle of the drafts. But we're approaching the end of round 2. You got receivers coming off the board here: Devontae, Marvin Harrison, Drake London, Michael Pittman Jr. Pittman going a little bit higher now that Josh Downs is on the shelf with a high ankle sprain. He's questionable for week 1. I don't know if he's going to be quite ready yet. So you might get a nice Michael Pittman start to the year if you're drafting Pittman. And then there you have it, the first QB off the board, Josh Allen. In my redraft article, I kind of highlighted that I don't like being the first person to take a quarterback. My QB1 this year is Jalen Hurts. Well, I guess if Jalen Hurts somehow falls to me at pick 34, I'm fine with stacking him with A.J. Brown. That's kind of a fun stack. But I don't like taking the first QB because he has to finish QB1 for me to hit that pick. And Brian, we're doing the money league. I want to make sure. We should get that off the bat here. We're doing the Fantasy Fellowship Money League this year. It looks like $25 is in the lead for the buy-in. Let me just kind of flash some of the members up here. If you want to play in the Fantasy Fellowship Money League this year, I'm just going to type in my email address email me at thefellowkgb@gmail.com. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spots left as of tonight. So if you guys want to get in, I think we're going to be voting on Superflex, or we're going to have one defense. So let me know if you guys want to join. 4 spots left, and we got the usual suspects in here and a few new guys that have been watching the show. So it's mostly people that hang out here on YouTube. It's a good crowd. If you guys want a chance at winning some money in a money league with us, email me at this address right here, the fantasy or the fellowkgb@gmail.com. But hey, we're up in the 3rd round, and they're giving me Jalen Hurts. I might see if Jalen Hurts comes back around at pick 39 for me. I'm looking at Kelsey, Diggs, Jacobs, Ayuk, Devonta Smith. I don't really want to overstack it that much. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab all these trade rumors right now with Brandon Ayuk. It sounds like the Steelers have a deal in place with Ayuk and compensation for a new contract. But the 49ers, man, they're going to get the opportunity to match probably that contract and try and keep Brandon Ayuk. But if Ayuk is gone, like Deebo Samuel is a smash at his ADP right now. So I want all the Deebo Samuel that I can get at my wide receiver 2 spot. He's got huge boom weeks. He's a top 5 receiver upside every week. And, as long as Ayuk's not on the team, man, I want Deebo pretty heavily. And even if Ayuk is there, I think Deebo's still a great pick. And good evening to Charlene. If you're interested in playing in that money league, Charlene, let me know. You can email me at the email address right here. But we're going to be up to pick here. And I've mentioned wanting to get a top 5 QB, running back, receiver, and tight end in my drafts this year. I think what we're shaping up here is to get Jalen Hurts. And I mentioned I don't really like grabbing quarterback early unless they fall to me. And I think Jalen Hurts here at pick 43 or pick 39, he's right in my ADP wheelhouse. He lines up with A.J. Brown for me. I can just be done at the QB position and enjoy having a top 3 QB all season long. So I like a lot of the running backs, receivers here. We're going to try something different. So we have our top 5 receiver in A.J. Brown, our top 5 running back in Jahmyr Gibbs, and now we have Jalen Hurts, a top 5 QB option. And we just got to find tight end. We'll continue to hammer out, the running backs and the receivers, but I think overall our foundation's looking pretty set. And again, you guys should check out thefantasyfellowship.com. At least check out the video on the YouTube here, the mid-round targets video. I think it was about 25 minutes long, and I basically just go through each position and give you guys some news and notes on players that I like in those middle rounds to kind of set you up. So we're looking, at Jalen Hurts there, round 4. Travis Kelsey would have been a fun tight end option. That Marquise Brown news today with the sternoclavicular injury, which I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in somewhere in here where he's got a pretty bad sprain or bruise or something going on in there. And he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, which is making me more and more interested in Rashee Rice and Travis Kelsey. And I know Rashee Rice's ADP is way too low on ESPN, as people are still expecting him to get suspended. But man, the closer we get to the season, and I don't think anything's going to happen this year. And even if he does get suspended, maybe 3 or 4 games, I think we can stomach that and hold on to what could be the number 1 receiving target for Patrick Mahomes again in this upcoming season. But I really like a lot of these picks in round 4. I think Josh Jacobs, I'm coming around on him as being a really solid RB2 that has top 10 upside at the position. We love Mahomes. I think Jalen Waddle's an excellent wide receiver too. Anthony Richardson's one of those quarterbacks that I like getting because I think he's got top 5 upside every week that he's healthy. And then Malik Neighbors, he's one of the biggest redraft targets for me because he's at the end of round 4, early round 5. I think he's a bet to lead the team in pretty much every receiving category this year and just be their playmaker that they center their offense around. I think Brandon Ayuk dipping this low, if he is on the Steelers, that takes a little bit of the shine off of him compared to him being with the 49ers. But I would expect him to be the number 1 receiver over there in terms of receptions and targets and compete with George Pickens for yards and touchdowns. But my favorite value here is Devonta Smith at pick 47. I think that's a pretty disgusting value. I did already get A.J. Brown. If I didn't have Brown, I probably would have taken Devonta Smith or Josh Jacobs here at pick 39 and load up my flexes. I'm Aiden's up to pick here at the 4-5 turn. He grabs Aaron Jones, which I like as a running back too. I worry about his fragility lasting all season. So I think if you like Aaron Jones, he's not a bad pick. You just got to make sure you have a nice backup just in case you need to pull someone up for Aaron Jones. And then I personally love Trey McBride. I think he's really the top 6 or 7 tight ends all have a chance this year to be tight end 1 overall. So getting one of those guys to me is a priority this year. Tank Dell, Mark Andrews, Lamar, Ramondre, T. Higgins, all off the board here. Aiden's got no receivers right now. Interesting strategy. We'll look at this later at the end of the draft. But Aaron Jones is his RB3. Okay. That I like. We'll see if he can nail wide receiver. But he's got his top 5 options covered at running back, quarterback, and tight end. We'll see if he can recover at receiver here. And I do think that's interesting because the receivers look pretty good as we go farther into the draft. But I'm approaching my next pick here. I think this is when I usually like to pull a tight end or a wide receiver. The running backs look pretty good here too, whether it's, DeAndre Swift, James Conner. I like Jalen Warren, just maybe not this early. But Kincaid, Pitts, and Ingram, I like all of these guys quite a bit. The receivers here, I'm going to reach a little bit on a guy that I think is pretty underrated right now, and that's going to be Terry McLaurin. I mean, the dude's been a 1,000-yard receiver for the last 4 years, and he's played with a bunch of bum QB. So I will grab Terry McLaurin to be my number 3 receiver. We'll find some more depth later. Charlene says she'd like to play. Yeah, shoot me an email if you guys want to play in that league. I got 4 spots left. Shoot me an email. I'm going to send you a link. All you got to do is just click the link, and hopefully you have an ESPN account already. Harris says, would you be okay with drafting both London and Bijan in the same draft? Probably not. I think you have to make your choice. Who do you want the beast to be on the Falcons? I do think you can grab Kyle Pitts with either of these players because tight end is kind of different. Tight end, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have a top 5 threat at that position, I think you can do so. Brian's liking Dalton Kincaid here. I'm not opposed to Dalton Kincaid. I think he's probably the guy that's going to lead the team in receptions and targets. But to me, I think it's Kyle Pitts is my candidate to be the tight end 1 this year. I think he's lighting up everything from a prospect profile. But my thing with Kyle Pitts is, we're talking Kirk Cousins, who just had TJ Hawkinson basically be the tight end 1 all season, weeks 1 through 16 until he got hurt. And it's a very similar setup on offense there. You have your Justin Jefferson, Drake London outside receiver. You have Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson in the middle, and hopefully stretching the field. And you got a pretty good running game. So I'm thinking I like Kincaid a lot. I'm worried about him not being on the field for a full complement of snaps because they do like Dawson Knox to be out there for blocking and other things like that. I'm personally just worried that the passing pie in Buffalo is going to be spread really thin between Kincaid, Shakir, Coleman, and Curtis Samuel. I think it's going to be kind of like, there could be weeks where Dalton Kincaid's the number 3, number 4 target. Whereas Pitts, I'm pretty sure he's going to be the number 1 or number 2 target every week. I also think the same thing with Evan Ingram. So I'm actually ahead of Ingram. I'm ahead on Ingram and Pitts over Dalton Kincaid this year. And yeah, I like Terry quite a bit. I think Jaden Daniels is a fantastic QB. With what's going on with Lamb, Chase, Puka, you taking London if I grab RB first? I like Drake London in the 2nd round. I think Drake London – I think you can, if you want Bijan Robinson in the 1st, you have to grab him as top 5 pick, top 3 pick, whatever in redraft. But I'm heavily invested in Drake London this year. I think he's a top 10 receiver who could go higher. Just his first time playing with a real quarterback in a really good offense here. So I think Drake London's a smash. He's a top 5 upside here. He's a year 3 breakout candidate. And yeah, I'm viewing him as a low end wide receiver 1 that has top 5 upside and is very likely to be a top 10, top 12 receiver. So, if you want to start your draft with CMC, Breesher, Bijan, and come back and get London, I'm a little torn there on getting Bijan and London on the same team. I think it can work because that offense is going to be very condensed between Bijan, Pitts, and London. But I think if you want London, I would rather draft, another receiver or Breece Hall, or even CMC with one of those 1st-round picks. I would kind of make my decision on Atlanta there. But we are approaching Our next pick here, pick round 7. Beginning of round 7, you see Keenan Allen. It looks like Aiden grabbed Kirk and Keenan Allen, so 2 nice receivers. I love Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson. I'm okay on. I like Calvin Ridley late. I think Najee Harris is interesting as a running back too. This year, Joe Burrow and George Pickens off the board. So tier 2 running back, it's a little bit tricky for me. I definitely want the CMC, Brees, Bijan, and I think I'm still in on Jahmyr Gibbs until we hear otherwise. I'm going to continue to draft Gibbs as a top 5 running back option. But what I really like is I like Pacheco. I think ETN's in that round 2 RB range for me. I want a top 5 RB upside play. I'm going to grab another wide receiver here for me just to continue loading my bench here. That's Deontay Johnson for me. I think he's 140 targets this year. And I'm going to be done at wide receiver pretty soon. I haven't given up on my bald-headed brother, even on the Bears. I like Keenan Allen, my man. I worry that he's going to be kind of like Adam Thielen was last year, where he's heavily involved early in the season and he could fade down the stretch. But to me, to get back to Brian's tier 2 running backs, I mean, to me, it's ETN, James Cook, Pacheco, Saquon, JT, Achane. Like that's tier kind of 2.5 for me. I like all these running backs. They all have top 5 upside, but some of those receivers in that round, man, are pretty crazy. I get Ferguson and Freiermuth in the later rounds. I stockpile RBs and receivers early. I like Ferguson. I'm not so much in on Pat Freiermuth this year. I'm a little bit nervous on Pat just because last year, I'm up to pick right now. I want Tony Pollard on my team this year, but I'm going to take Jackson Smith and the Jigba and just be done at the wide receiver position. I now have A.J. Brown, Debo, McLaurin, Deontay, and JSN. I think JSN's a candidate to lead the Seahawks in receptions and targets. But I tweaked my numbers on tight end there, Charlene, and Pat Freiermuth fell pretty hard. He's down here all the way at tight end 18. The preseason usage was not great. They used 3 tight ends. And if you remember Kyle Pitts last year, they had Pitts, Jonnu, and then another tight end. Arthur Smith rotates the hell out of his tight ends. So I think Freiermuth, I love the guy, but I'm just worried that the offense is going to not allow him to be a startable tight end asset. So I'm all in on Ferguson, though. I think he's one of the last guys that makes sense as a top 5 tight end threat. He could run hot on touchdowns, but I'm kind of so on Freiermuth. If you want him as your tight end 2, I'm fine with that because he could hit. But I think going into the year, I don't want to have Freiermuth as my tight end 1. We're entering the 9th round. There's a lot of running backs that I like this late. So we're going to try and basically just jam a bunch of running back 2s in here and play the hot hand. And that's kind of what I like to do. I like these kind of hero RB builds. I wasn't able to get my guy, Jalen Warren. There's a chance we can get another running back to fall to us here soon that we like. But I kind of like leaving my RB2 spot to be fluid because that's going to change. Week 1, we're all going to have our lineups and we'll probably rip up half those spots and start moving things around. So I would definitely recommend trying to bake in some flexibility to your draft here and not get set on certain positions and making sure you have certain spots fall. Because the wide receivers where we were taking wide out, I mean, we could have JSN, Deontay Johnson. I mean, George Pickens went late. Chris Godwin goes late. A lot of good wide receivers this late that I think can be of huge use to us. Aiden grabbed Xavier Worthy, Rome Odunze, 2 fantastic rookie options here at the wide receiver spot. He handcuffs his Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen there, and then I think Worthy's going to be moving up boards quite a bit. I do want to see, where did Rashee Rice go? Up here, round 6, pick 5. I love that pick. I probably should have maybe taken him over Kyle Pitts. I also think Jaden Reed's a great pick this late here too. But we're almost up to pick here. We got to start looking for some running backs. We're maybe getting a Tony Pollard, Blake Corum, Zach Charbonnet, Jerome Ford. I like Chase Brown quite a bit. I think we're going to probably run out of running backs pretty soon here. So we got to start hammering these guys. Curtis Samuel, Trey Benson off the board here. We'll see if we can hold on to Tony Pollard coming back through us. And yeah, I think Aiden's strategy there of grabbing Keenan Allen to start the year, and if it does transition to Rome Odunze, I think you have a pretty seamless transition there. But my goodness, they gave me Tony Pollard as my RB2, and we wanted him last round, but he's your starting running back in Tennessee. I know they like Tajay Spears a lot, but Pollard looked good. You should, go to Twitter, X, whatever, and just type in Tony Pollard because he looked like his old self in that preseason game last weekend, and I was pretty happy with what I saw. We're going to continue taking running back here. I could easily grab Gus Edwards, who I think is going to be the plotter RB1 for the Chargers. I like taking my swing on a Chase Brown, who I think is a co-starter with Zach Moss here. I'm going to grab Chase Brown and get a piece of that Bengals offense. And hopefully Gibbs, Pollard, and Chase Brown, that's a good 1-2-3 punch. And, we'll just continue rounding out our roster. We have 4 spots here. I could grab, another backup tight end or another receiver if I want. But I think looking at running backs and just loading my roster up with running back bets is how I like to build my redraft teams. Because my receivers, A.J. Brown, Debo McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, JSN, I don't know if I'm going to be able to draft a guy here or even pick up a waiver wire pick that's going to hop any of these guys. So loading up my bench with running backs, I think, is probably the move here. And Charlene, you're ahead. You're so smart, Charlene. You're ahead here. He's one of the guys that I'm lining up with my next pick, and that's going to be Chuba Hubbard. Hopefully Aiden doesn't take him. He's got the stud running back, so hopefully he keeps taking receivers. But Chuba Hubbard's starting in September for at least 3-4 games while Jonathan Brooks is coming back from his knee injury. We're not seeing Jonathan Brooks in the preseason, and the head coach is already on record saying he's not playing until week 3, week 4. So maybe there's a PUP list candidate there for Jonathan Brooks, and we see Chuba start the first 4 games. And even when Jonathan Brooks comes back, they're not just going to hand him the 15 to 18 touches per game workload. He's going to have to ease his way in. So if you want to get a running back late, I do think Chuba Hubbard, you could probably pencil him in as your RB2 if you're kind of going 0 running back. So very good call. I like Chuba Hubbard quite a bit. And I think I'm a little bit nervous on Jerome Ford, Charlene. I like Jerome Ford, but Nick Chubb is kind of growing on me. I think he's well ahead of schedule, and it sounds like they're banking on him being a member of their team this year. So maybe Jerome Ford is the guy the first 3-4 games, but it does sound like Nick Chubb's going to be back, and they also have, they like Pierre Strong there. They like Deonta Foreman. They like Naheem Hines. I'm a little bit unsure on that Browns running game, whereas I know Chuba is going to be the guy for the first 4 weeks. I think Ford might be in a little bit of a committee those first few games, so that worries me. But I'm a big believer there in Brian Thomas Jr., who Aiden grabbed at pick 120. Man, pretty good value on a rookie receiver that's going to be on the field a lot for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good pick there. Gus Edwards at 123. That's one of the running backs that I like this late. And I will be, so tonight's Tuesday night. Tomorrow night, we're doing a live stream, a Superflex live stream over on Drafters. It's a best ball draft. They just dropped their $5 Superflex contest. So I'm doing that tomorrow night, Wednesday evening around 7 p.m. Central Time. So if you guys want to watch me do that, go ahead. But I think I'm working on my next article, and that's my third part of the series of my my redraft guide, which is the late round sleepers. So we're going to be talking about a lot of these guys like Gus Edwards, Khalil Shakir, guys like Brian Thomas Jr., a lot of the running backs, Chuba Hubbard. There's going to be a lot of gold in that one. So we'll help you guys get ready for your redraft leagues. And hopefully you guys aren't drafting this weekend yet. Hopefully not. I could take Nick Chubb here and just say, let's see what happens. Guess what? He's going to be in my IR right away. I'm going to take a gamble here on Nick Chubb. I think he's kind of a fun bet and a guy that I want to root for traditionally. I'm going all the way down here. Where is Chuba? All the way at 173. I'm just going to grab him here. I mean, I do like guys like Ty Chandler, Rico Dowdle, Jalen Wright, some of these rookie running backs, but Chuba Hubbard, man, get myself a starting running back for the first month of fantasy football seems like a good move. And just out of curiosity, Jerome Ford went right before me when I took Chase Brown. So all of a sudden, my weakness at RB2, it looks like it's a kind of a strength. We're going to figure it out. Pollard, Chase Brown, Nick Chubb, Chuba Hubbard. And, what's cool about pairing Chubb with Hubbard is, I'm going to get Hubbard for the first 4 games. Maybe Nick Chubb's back and ready to go week 5 and 6. So, I don't mind taking guys that are going to be out because I can move them to my IR. I get another free pickup right away. that's kind of a seamless transition from starting Chuba to potentially Nick Chubb as my RB2. But after I take Chuba Hubbard, you see Rashid Shaheed, who I think, as far as being like a team's locked-in number 2 target every week, I think Rashid Shaheed's a fantastic late-round sleeper. I'm kind of out on Cole Kmet. The dude, he got out-snapped in that preseason game by Rome Odunze and Gerald Everett. So Kmet was kind of like the 5th receiver on that team for the first part of preseason there. So I'm out on Cole Kmet. I don't like drafting him as my tight end 1. He's a backup tight end for me. I'm kind of out on Marshawn Lloyd, guys. If you've watched my mocks the last month or so, we were drafting Marshawn Lloyd as a sleeper, but now with this hamstring injury, and it sounds like A.J. Dillon has kind of rebuilt his body, and he's kind of holding down the RB2 spot. And Lloyd just has not been healthy all of training camp. He was healthy for about a week, gets hurt in the preseason game, and all of a sudden, poof, like we're going to be putting Marshawn Lloyd on ice until maybe we can see him, back in the regular season. So he's a guy that I don't know if I feel comfortable taking him. I'd rather take Kyler Algier, who I know is a starting tight end or starting running back if Bijan Robinson goes down. And we've seen him play well before. Dallas Goedert, interesting this late. We're starting to get kickers and, defenses off the board here as teams auto pick. I like the Jaleel McLaughlin pull, potential receiving running back there for Denver, who we know they throw the ball a ton to the running backs. And then Rico Dowdle, man, I'm still thinking Dowdle might be the best back there in Dallas, but I'm kind of thinking Dallas is going to sign a running back after some cuts are made. We are yet to see Kendre Miller appear in training camp yet. He got hurt the first day, and he's dealing with hamstring injuries, and the coaching is kind of souring on him. I love the Ty Chandler pick. I love Gibson. I like Romeo Doubs and Darnell Mooney. A lot of good sleepers here this late, guys. But hey, I'm going to grab, you're going to give me Jalen Wright, RB3 for Miami, but we know Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane are both a little injury prone. Achane a smaller back, Mostert up there and is, 32 years old. I think he kind of scares me a little bit. So Jalen Wright, we'll probably see him at some point this year. But hey, we're up to pick again. I could grab another running back if I want, but I feel kind of good about my backfield. Receiver, A.D. Mitchell. Dontavian Wicks is a stud. We saw that, preseason week 1. Jalen Pope, though, starting receiver for the New England Patriots. But I'm going to grab Dontavian Wicks. I got to get myself a Packer here. And if you all saw that 65-yard touchdown bomb to Dontavian Wicks on the 3rd play of the game. And Green Bay, man, we know they can throw the ball. I think I'm kind of out on Marvin Mims this year, Charlene. It sounds like he's behind Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Josh Reynolds. Mims is still kind of a speedster, gadgety type player. If you play in leagues where you get punt and kick return yards, though, I think Marvin Mims is very draftable. But I just worry that he's a little bit behind on the depth chart. You still have Troy Franklin there, who they like as well. So Mims might be the wide receiver 4 or 5. If you're looking for receivers this late, though, Charlene, I can't see him anymore. That's unfortunate. But A.D. Mitchell, Josh Downs. I think there's a couple other guys there that I liked a lot. Jalen Polk, grab the receiver 1 on the Patriots. I know he's not going to be a good player or not an amazing player his rookie year with that team, but I think anytime you can get a receiver 1 on a team, I think that makes sense. And then I did like DeMario Douglas down here. Brandon Cooks intrigues me a little bit. Gabe Davis is more of a best ball pick for me, but I could see him playing well in Jacksonville this year. Khalil Herbert got a lot of run with the starters in preseason week 1. I'm all in on Shaheed. I think Rashid Shaheed back here in round 12, if you need a receiver sleeper, is like your 4 or 5. Shaheed's a great pick there. But I was mentioning, a lot of these players down here. I like Khalil Herbert. There's a chance Khalil Herbert gets traded or moved sometime this year. And I think he leads the team in carries this year, actually. I don't know if they're going to give Swift all the carries that we think he's going to get. Josh Downs is another receiver that I like this late. Jahan Dotson, a great pick there. It sounds like they're moving him more into the slot this year, which should be exciting. Defenses are up to pick here. Overall, I'm not really sure what defense I want to roll with all season. I think the Packers intrigue me with their new look defense, the Bengals, the Bills. The Bears are kind of a fun one, too. I'm going to go ahead and grab Buffalo, though, just because I think they're going to win some games and be a solid defense. I'll look more into that. I got to check my QB rankings here, or my defense rankings. I got Buffalo as a top 10 defense here, so I'm fine with that. And then kicker rankings, I really haven't looked too much in the kickers. I'm going to grab Cameron Dicker, the kicker. I think the Chargers are going to run the ball, kick field goals, stall in the red zone. They're in a dome most of the year. They're in a tough conference. I think they'll kick a lot of field goals. So there you have it. We tried our best to get a top 5 option at each position, and I think we checked all the boxes. Starting with, well, I'll wait for this to fill up here, and we'll kind of review our team. And overall, man, I think we did okay. Last mock draft, I believe I did running back start, and it was a good team, but I think this team is deep and built to last all season long. So overall, pretty happy with the team. Jalen Hurts at QB1. Starting running backs are Jahmyr Gibbs and Tony Pollard. Starting 2 receivers, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel. My tight end is Kyle Pitts, who, again, I think has tight end 1 overall upside this year. Terry McLaurin down here in my flex spot feels pretty good. And if he doesn't work out, I got Deontay Johnson and Jackson Smith in the Jigba and Dontavian Wicks. We just got to be patient with Wicks, and maybe one of the receivers makes sense there. It does look like my round 5, my 5th week is going to be annoying with buys, but I don't care about that. It's just 1 week. I'm not going to lose my head on 1 week. But the running back depth, I think, is interesting. Chase Brown, who I like a lot. I like Nick Chubb as a potential sleeper. I can move him in my IR right away and get a free pickup here. Chuba Hubbard, Jalen Wright, pretty good running back depth here. This is going to be my battle for RB2 all season. We'll start with Tony Pollard. If Chase Brown makes any noise, we'll do that. If I need to start Chuba Hubbard week 2, I'll do that. And then we got a little bit of sleepers here, Jalen Wright, Dontavian Wicks, and Nick Chubb. So I like what we ended up doing here. Let's see if Aiden was able to rebound and get his receivers that he needed. Again, he started with Josh Allen. I think he took him at 24 overall. Christian McCaffrey, 101. Devon Achane. And I think Devon Achane is super exciting. I think he's going to be more involved as a receiver. He could be a huge hit this year. The receivers, he ended up with Christian Kirk and Keenan Allen. So no stud top 5, top 10 options, but maybe Keenan Allen is that guy the first month of the year, and you can kind of move to Rome Odunze later in the year. We know Trey McBride's a top 5 threat at tight end. Aaron Jones, top 5, top 10 running back when healthy. Hopefully he can stay that way. And then the receiver depth, man, Worthy, Odunze, Brian Thomas Jr. One of these guys has to hit, right? You also got Jacoby Myers, another just useful tool in the shed here for the Raiders. McLaughlin and Rico Dowdle here down here at the bench. And shout out one time, the Hall of Fame, Matthew Slater, one of the greatest special teams players to ever play the game, Matthew Slater. Aiden always likes to kind of send us off with at least one fun trip down memory lane. So I like the team there. Obviously, wide receiver is going to be the spot where we're going to have to, trim, and hopefully Worthy, Odunze, and Brian Thomas can emerge. But I think Kirk and Keenan Allen are enough to hold the fort down. So different approach. I like kind of waiting for a receiver. I think you panned out pretty well. And you wanted to I saw Tavon Austin retired today. Shout out Tavon Austin, former Packer, former Cowboy, former Jaguar, and former Ram, I believe. I think I covered all the teams. But that's it for tonight's show, guys. This was a lot of fun. We just did our pick number 10. I have 2 more of these left, 2 more Tuesdays. We're going to be mock streaming from the 11th and the 12th overall pick. I'm probably going to upload a Yahoo mock this weekend, maybe another sleeper mock draft. And hey, if you guys are still with me and you're interested in playing in a competitive $25 entry fee league, email me here, thefellowkgb@gmail.com. We're going to be drafting, I think, Labor Day night, Monday evening, Labor Day night around 7 p.m. Central Time. So if you guys want to, hang out and do a fun draft for some cash, $25, email me here. I will send you the invite link. And that's it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Tomorrow night, we'll be going live doing a real life best ball draft for $5. We'll get a chance at 10K if we hit first. Super flex. That's it for me, though. Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. Thank you for your time. Peace.